Before we continue, let's go ahead and review what we have so far. So we have our create store function, which when it's invoked is going to return us the actual store. That store will eventually have four parts to it. Some internal state, which is going to be the state of our entire application. We have a way to get the state with our getState method here. And then we have a way to subscribe or to listen to changes on the state with our subscribe method here. Now, the last thing we need to do for create store is we need to figure out a way to update the state. Now remember, the whole goal here is to increase the predictability of the state in our application. We can't just allow anything or anyone to update the state. If we did, that would drastically decrease the predictability of our app. In fact, the only way in which we can increase predictability in terms of updating the state is by establishing a strict set of rules for how updates can be made. So let's look at an NFL team, for example, or a National Football League team for those not in America. In order for a team to maximize their chances of winning, they always need to be on the same page. They need to operate as one cohesive unit. Every miscommunication can and will lead to negative consequences. So in a sense, NFL teams have the same goals as we do, to increase predictability. How do they actually go about doing this though? Well, what they do is they create a playbook and each individual on the team must know it by heart. This way, anytime the team chooses to run a specific play from the playbook, each individual on the team will know exactly what each member of the team will be doing, therefore maximizing predictability. Now, can we take this same idea and apply it to our state management library? Well, we can, and it's so fundamental that we're going to call it rule number 1 to increase predictability in our apps. Just like NFL teams have a collection of plays in which they can run, we too can have a collection of events that can occur inside of our application, which will change the state of our store. So what does this actually look like? Let's say we were building a to-do list app. One event that would change the state of the store would be when the user adds a new item to their to-do list. How might we go about representing that event? Because again, the whole goal here is we want to have a collection of events that can occur that would change the state of our store. So how would we represent that event? Well, what if we just used an object with a type property which describes the event taking place? So in our example, what that would look like is we would just have an object here. It would have a type property. We'll go ahead and give it a type of add to do. Now, because this is just an object, we can add any extra information that we want to it, which is going to help us change the state based off of this specific event that occurred. So what we might do is come in here and add a to-do property. We'll give it an ID of 0, a name of Learn Redux, and then we'll say complete false. Cool, so it's pretty straightforward, but what we've done with this one object is we're saying, hey, this is a type of event that's going to occur in our app. And in fact, this is a type of event which is eventually going to change the state of our store. And let's go ahead and give this a name. What we'll call it is we will call it an action. So an action is just an object which represents a specific event or action which is going to occur in our app, which will eventually change the state of our store. So what if we wanted to have a few more actions in our to-do list app? For example, we don't just want to be able to add a to-do item. We also want to be able to remove a to-do item, and we also want to be able to toggle a to-do to mark it as complete. So let's come up here and we'll do that as well. So we already have our add to-do action. Let's make a new action with a type of remove to-do, and we'll give this an ID of 0. And then we will also create a new action with a type of toggle to do, and we'll also give this an ID of 0 as well. So what we've done is we've created an action for every type of event that can occur in our application that would change the state of our store. What that means is if the store changes, we know that one of these 3 events had to occur. Now, what if we wanted to add another feature to our app? So let's say instead of just adding short-term to-do items, we also wanted the user to be able to add long-term goals. So we want to have the user be able to add and remove to-do items as we're doing here, but we also want them to be able to add and remove different goals that they have, which are really more long-term than just to-do items. So just like we did with our to-dos, those actions might look something like this, where we have some more objects here. Let's give the first one a type of add goal. And we'll go ahead and pass along the actual goal here. say an ID of 0, and we'll give it a name of run a marathon. And then what we want to do is we want to have an object with a type of remove goal and an ID of 0. So now, just as a football team can look at their playbook to know which plays they're going to run before they ever even start a game, we too can look at our collection of actions here to know which events are going to occur in our app, which are going to change the state of our store. So now that we have our state, now that we have our actions, the next thing we need to do is actually tie them together, meaning we need a way to update our state based on the current event or the current action which occurred. That's what we'll look at in the next video.